Hi everybody, welcome to episode 79 of the Run the Hills podcast, sponsored by Chia Charge. Chia Charge have been fueling adventures with real food made with real ingredients since 2012. Go and check them out at www.chiacharge.co.uk. I've had a big week, Eddie.
A big week. We've got so much to talk about. And you know, Gary, he doesn't stop talking, and so I have to go. Please, can you just press record? Because otherwise, the pre-podcast chat is about an hour and a half as he goes through everything he's been doing. Am I like one of your only friends, Gary? So like...
I can count them on one hand. My friend, it's called rehearsals, Eddie, our pre-podcast chat.
Bryn calls it permanent send when he's been away. Like he's gone back to proper work now, so he's not here when he comes back. Because I'm on my own, apart from you, Gary. I'm like, and then he's like, have you not talked to anybody today? I'm like, I just need to...
Lisa, if I've got something to get off my chest, I think I'm talking to her. In actual fact, I'm just shouting at her, projecting my frustration, just battering her. But yeah, I've had a busy week. But what about yourself? What do you first, Eddie?
I've had such a busy week. I missed my first training session of 20. I know. I will often change sessions to fit my current mood. Sometimes you start a session and you're like, it's not there. We'll make this a bit easier, or I'll do less, or, for me, I'll change the sport because I don't feel like doing that. But after 2 weeks of kids half term, of running the kids around, being basically a Meals on Wheels and a laundry lady, Sunday came and I had left, fatal error, I'd left my 10 by 4 minutes to do until Sunday afternoon when we came back from ski races. And I came back and I'd been up since 6. I'd done like the easy run in the morning at 6 o'clock and it was -10. So that had been quite emotional. And we came back and I was so dehydrated and I sort of missed lunch, and we got back about 3, 4, and the kids had to get ready for school and they were so tired. And by the time I'd sorted that out, and then Sunday's my big work day where I check in on all the clients and make sure the next week. So by the time I'd done all that, it's like 7 o'clock, and I was like, you know what? I'd had 3 bottles of precision hydration, full strength, and I still felt a bit dehydrated. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to cane this day. I'm going to eat a sweet potato chips and veggie burger for my tea with loads of burger sauce.
Yeah.
And all night, I'm going to start again tomorrow. I have zero guilt when I do that, because it's a true, I do push as everybody knows, I push myself to possible breaking limits. But yeah. And then the next day, woke up, thought I'd feel really fresh, hobbled down the stairs. But actually then I had 6 by 8 minutes to do uphill, and I did my best session by a long time. So
brilliant.
Here's what I started the week off great. So it's the right thing to do.
I'm glad you owned it, though. I'm glad you owned that Sunday, and we can't always get them done. It's good.
I love it. I owned it. So yeah, we had emotional time. So I'm going to tell you a little story I want to share with you, and I want to share with people listening. We don't often talk about like our kids and their lives, because we kind of feel that that's their lives, don't we? And everyone knows we've got kids, and but I thought I'd share you this little story, especially for parents that might be like juggling their training and still their races and their dreams, and then and feel guilty about it, because I feel that's quite a lot, especially with my mum clients. The guilt of actually them going and doing something for themselves is a real deal. And perhaps even asking their partner to look after the kids. Often in races, like I'm being asked, who's got your kids? And I'm like, their dad. So I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you a little story that's was quite emotional and a big part of my parenting journey as I continue this long rocky road of bringing up my kids. But so our kids had ski races. They're always really emotional and hardcore ski races because they train so hard. The kids ski every day.
Yeah.
3 hours every day. And then they have these ski races where they have 2 goes when they're their age. if you don't finish or you miss a gate or you fall, you're disqualified. And that's it. Your race is over. You have to do you have to finish it twice. And to be in contention, you have to ski really, really fast. So it's like, it's a real, you have to go all out. You have to take the risk that you could fall, and then your whole day you're there and you're not even going to get up. You're just disqualified. It's over. It's brutal. So I was with my middleest one because we had to divide and conquer because they were racing, and really, really icy, really, really cold. It was like -8 in the car park. I was like, oh God. Oh, it's cold. I was watching the sun coming over the mountain go, come on. Anyway, this tiny little ski resort we went to, and it only had one run open, and it was just a bed of ice. Not much fun when you're the spectator. Anyway, of the 85 kids, I think, skiing, under 10, cutest little things you've ever seen. And Rory, my middlest one, was about number 18, I think, to go. So they go down in their order.
Okay.
And it was a bendy course, so I was standing on the bend, came down, I was like, oh God, he looks good today. Oh, he looks good today. I could hear the commentator going, hoy, sit down, hoy. Anyway, 84 kids went down, and Rory was over 2 seconds in the lead of all these kids. Ooh. And I was like, there's a hell in skiing, massive, like normally it's won by like 0.0. It was huge. And he was beyond himself, but he was really focused. They had this like at the top of the piece, they were like in this like ice zone, just waiting, like away from his mates. He was like stretching and bending, and I was like, right, do you want your lunch, Rory? Because they have a little break. And he's like, no, I want to set, I just have some sugar, some sweets or something. I'm going to keep my stomach light. I was like, oh God, he's only 9. Yeah. Went around, and then he did it. He's like, right, I'm going to do 4 more runs, Mum, for a warm up. And then I'm going to wait for my car. I was like, oh, this guy's on it. Focus. And so then they go reverse order down. So then he had to wait quite a long time for everybody to ski. Yeah.
And then they just stand around. Is he literally freezing now? Is he? Or
no, because sun's come up, and the kids don't. It's like we do. So the sun's come up by now. It is much warmer now, but the piste is super icy. Like you can hear them coming around the corner. Like
okay, yeah.
So he got ready to go. I skied halfway down. I was like, I'm going to ski halfway down, and I'll meet you at the bottom at the end. He came around you have this app on your phone, so you can see when he's left the gate. Cool. So I was like, he started, here he comes. I could hear him come around. Anyway, he came around the corner so fast. He hit the ice and he went flying.
Oh my goodness.
And all I heard was, oh no. And then he just stood on the side of the piste with his little head in his like, and skied over to the other side, and his coach was there and was like, the coach is a hardcore. Yeah. And it's like fist pumped in and was like, another time, Rory, another time. Anyway, he was beyond himself. I sort of thinking, oh my God, how do I handle this now? But he's disqualified. He's out the race. Yeah. He's gonna. How do I handle this now? As a parent, the disappointment, the crashing disappointment of going from being champion to being DQ'd and not even going to get mentioned in the results. And you're 9. Anyway, he skied down. He was obviously very upset. And you don't get any of this in the parent manual, do you? Of like, how do you cope with this crashing? What do you goodness, anyway, his friends were all lovely, and all the parents lovely, and going, Roz, we know you, another time. And I was like, oh, no. He was it. Anyway, can of Coke and packet of crisps, and he was back up. And then he had to watch all his mates get prizes and stand there. We've all been there. Oh, yeah, well done. Really great. That is all part of the process. Anyway, I had to tell that bit of story to tell them the conversation we then had that I thought was very telling. Was yesterday, the day after, he said, Mum, I keep reliving that moment when I came around the corner. And I said, okay. Well, I was like, okay, Ross, well, let's put yourself in that picture. What would you do again? And he said, I go harder, Mum. I didn't go hard enough. He said, next time, I'm just going to go even harder. I don't want to ski easy. I want to ski harder. And I was like, wow, for a 9-year-old, I was like, that's my boy. I was like, okay. I said, well, you do that if that's the way you're going to do your sport, but you're going to roll the dice. And sometimes it's going to be amazing, and sometimes it's going to be
high risk and high rewards.
High risk, high rewards. I love that. And I thought, I think we all feel like, doing this sport is sometimes a bit of a selfish endeavor, but I definitely think him seeing his mum having had many disappointments, many like comebacks, many like just working herself hard. I think he's seen that. And I think I am so much more proud of that side of his character coming out than, he never said I didn't win. It was more, he was so disappointed in himself that he didn't do as well. So rather digressed off the running point, but I thought that having gone from like, oh, how do I cope with this? I was actually, I don't need to cope with this.
Yeah.
He can cope with this himself. And the tools I've learned from myself, from my sport, from my running, from that resilience that you have to do, almost like have gone through my DNA in him. So kudos to my little man. Well done. Good old tougho. But also I
think I'd have broke down in tears, Eddie.
Oh my God, honestly, when I saw him come around, it was not that he fell, because they fall all the time and, they bash it, if he hurt, he was fine. It was more like, that disappointment, and it's the first time he's ever had to handle that, but it's a huge life lesson. So the life lessons I think you get from sport,
oh wow,
I mean, they are just they go into everything in life. And so as my husband,
even just the influences around him, he's observed what goes on at home with his mum and dad, and he's kind of taken that on, hopefully. Like it is a guilty pursuit that we follow sometimes, but hopefully there's some good comes out. I'm not, my kids don't observe me going down the pub every night and stuff like that. That's not the memory of their dad. I disappear and go running for hours.
Dad talking to this strange woman all the time on Zoom in his bedroom. Or is that that's the other podcast, isn't it?
That's the other one, yeah.
Anyway, I thought I wanted to share that because I thought, I know there's a lot of people with families and with bringing up young kids, and maybe they've seen that in their kids themselves, or if you've got very young kids and you're not quite into this stage of sport, watching Saturday weekend sport yet, but you will. So it's not, running is a multifaceted use of your time. It's not just about getting out, stuffing Chia Charge bars down your mouth at 4 o'clock in the morning, Gary, is it?
Anyway, on the mountains. No.
Tell us all about your epic week. Well, your weekend.
Yeah, well, I was lucky or unlucky enough. I don't know. It was when I was driving home at 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't feel very lucky, but I spent, oh my goodness, well over 9 hours, probably more like, I think it was like 9.5 hours on the fells. Did a leg 4 and a leg 5 Bob Graham round support runner. There was actually 4 of us out there. Myself, Neil, and Luke, and a guy called Mike. I've blanked on his second name. So there's 4 of us out there. There's only supposed to be 3, but then we all kept going, apart from Luke, to the very end. But a wild night, Eddie. My goodness me. The forecast was, the Met Office did a really good job, actually. Thumbs up to the Met Office because they got it spot on. But as we climbed out of Wasdale, the weather was glorious. You could just look over the lake. You could see the Irish Sea. And apart from Sellafield Nuclear Power Station, there was a glorious, is it a power station these days or some kind of recycling plant? Anyway, it's not great, but the glorious views. And then we headed towards, I think it was Steeple. And my goodness me, Eddie, the weather changed. And it wasn't quite arms linking for safety, so you weren't being blown off the fells, but it was getting there. But I absolutely loved it. I remember just saying to Neil as we were going to Kirk Fell, like, I love it. This is absolutely lovely. You couldn't hear a thing. You're in like some kind of dishwasher of wind. It was horrendous, but it was balmy, but absolutely fantastic. And I just thought there and then, I really do want to do a winter Bob Graham round.
I was going to ask you that, whether you'd been put off or whether you were like, yes.
No, 100% more invested in it. I loved it. But getting to the support was a bit of an adventure. I think we were WhatsApping each other and I'd lost all my kit. I couldn't find my waterproof trousers. I couldn't find my bivvy bag. Someone else had done a bit of organising in the house, and luckily I found them. I had to buy some bloody microspikes because there was some group chat about weather conditions. My Blencathra in, it was a bit icy. I didn't need any micro spikes. It was fine. So I've spent 50 quid there, which I didn't need to.
I'll buy them off you for the spine.
Yeah. My little tiny feet, your feet might be bigger than mine. And then as I was leaving the house, God, honestly, when you're just trying to get out of the house, I put my key in the door and I snapped the key in the lock. So I broke the front door. That was quite stressful. I went to give Rex a kiss goodbye and he moved his face. And when dogs have that kind of gunk on their eyes, well, I got a mouthful of eye. So as I was like literally retching as I was going out the door, then I snapped the key in the door. It was just like, what? Literally, it was the grossest thing. It was horrible. But other than that, once I got going and once we got to Keswick, it was quite relaxed then. Made our way to Wasdale and had a glorious 9.5 hours in the fells. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be for Sarah Perry. I hope she doesn't mind me sharing it on the podcast, but I think just that accumulation of weather over all of those hours and high fells just caught up with her on the day. And it wasn't meant to be, but hats off to her. She didn't stop. She kept going. She got the round done, just not in the 24-hour target time. But yeah, all in all, wonderful. And it's not something we've done before, but I would like to do a little kit of the week shout out. And I've got this old Innovate Primaloft, how's it pronounced?
I think it is Primaloft.
And I bought this years. I looked on the Innovate website. They don't even sell it anymore. It's a product that's not stocked. And I bought this ages ago. Never liked it. Never wore it. It would be something I'd do the gardening in, or dust around the house, and if it would be chilly. And just with the forecast, I was like, I'm gonna put that in my backpack. And it's the first time I've ever ran with it, like as a piece of kit. And because the pace was, I suppose, because of the train on leg 4, you're not really moving that fast anyway. But you weren't really generating enough heat to keep yourself warm. And I was just like, I'm not very comfortable here, and got this little Primaloft jacket out, and just took me ages to get it on because it was so windy. Like Neil's trying to hold the arms, and I'm trying to not lose my gloves. I've got it on, and my goodness me, I was like,
did you put your waterproof over the top of it then?
No, I didn't take the waterproof off. I left the waterproof on and then put that over the waterproof. Ideally, yes, I would have put the Primaloft under. It wasn't raining, so that was fine. Okay, yeah, okay. That was. But I just couldn't bear to take my jacket off because I would have took my mitts off and everything. It was too cold for that. Too cold and too windy. But got that on, and my goodness me, it made a massive, massive difference. So I won't ever kind of look at that thing in the same negative light.
Jacket again.
Yeah, it's not. And I wore tights. I've not worn tights since 2019.
Oh Lord, what a picture! Let's not.
I know. But again, I mean, you're having these like kit debates, and again, it was like, yeah,
you'd have been
super cool. Because we weren't moving fast enough, basically. So it would have been silly. I always say, me and Neil and I chat about this quite often, that I don't want to be the plonker, that mountain rescuer. We've called mountain rescue out, and some dumbass out there with shorts on in -15 wind chill factor. So yeah, I always kind of think about that as I'm packing kit. So but yeah, wonderful day, just exhausting. I got to bed about 4:30 in the morning. Thought I'd have a big lie in, but no, I was up trying to fix the front door that I broke the day before. I did it though.
I watched the gunk out your eyes still. Nasty eye infection.
That was gross, honestly. But I've fixed 2 doors in a week. I should be a locksmith.
You should maybe not break the locks to start off with.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, wonderful time. And I hope once she's reflected on things that she'll dust herself down and maybe go for a summer bookworm around Sarah next time. They're much more pleasant. I can speak from experience.
But you feel quite inspired by the...
100%. Yeah. I'm fully invested in it. But I wouldn't go out in that weather. My Bob's going to be a lot more low key. If it happens, there'll be a lot more low key. So it's more flexible in a nutshell. When you've got people coming over, some people would have took time off work on a Friday. Tim and Lisa were there. People just driving around all over the place. You really kind of, if you penciled in that date, you've got to try your best to really do that date, unless it's dangerous, I suppose. But yeah, my Bob will be a lot more low key. So if the weather's not suitable, there's no way I'm going to go out in that for 24 hours, not on my own.
No.
Cool. Should we do some results?
Yeah, let's do some results. I think there's lots of cross-country races. I think in a few weeks' time, we're going to be inundated with results in upcoming races, but everyone's just coming out like a daffodil, like a primrose, coming up and ready, getting started for races. So we had the Chichester Harbour Chidden Trail run, which we think was about 15K. Gary's dead excited because there was loads of women in the top four. We had Sally Cooper, Dana Cooper, maybe that's mother and daughter, Jill Brown in the top three, and Josh Cottrell bringing home the men. 1 in 102 by Sally Cooper. So well done, women.
Yeah, awesome one. And then we've got the DT Winter Series, Beardale Beck 5K, and Colin Taylor took the win in 18 minutes, 53 seconds, and Daisy Johnson, 22:46. And there was a strong turnout from Sedgefield Harriers there. I saw some pictures.
Bit of nepotism, bringing in like your club results now.
But I thought I'd give Mark Rain a shout out because he took third place. Well done, Mark, and everybody else who took part in races over the weekend. This week's guest is Andy Dobinson. It was great to catch up with Eddie. He came on the show a while ago and chatted with John about his recovery from a stroke, and he was keen to come back on the show and keep us updated with his journey and what his plans are for the future. I thought it was great catching up with Andy. I hope you all do too. Hi everybody, today we've got Andy Dobinson on the show. He's our Russell Bentley was our double guest, but Russell, we recorded Russell all in one hit and then we had to split it up into two, but Andy's our first returning guest. Hi Andy, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem, thanks for having me.
First questions first, have you been for a run today?
No, not yet, but it is scheduled and I've got an easy with strides to do later.
Fantastic.
Nice.
One of my favourites. I like the easy bit. That's my favourite bit.
Sometimes the strides become a bit of a, oh my goodness me, I've got 6 strides. It's like that's a bit of adds a bit of stress to it. But yeah, the strides are great. I love the strides.
I tell you what, I've only just worked out what the hell strides are because I was running and then sprinting and then thinking, this can't be right because they're supposed to be strides. And I didn't realise that strides are just an exaggerated form of your running. And when you get that, I'm like, oh, I quite enjoy these. And they've become my favourite now.
It's a bit below your, Eddie's the coach, but it's not quite your sprint, isn't it? It's like you're on control, you're obviously going quite fast, but you're not like trying to get 100 metres PB.
Yeah, I love them. They're great.
I hate the first two, and then I enjoy them. Like even the first one, I'm like, oh, I feel like moving an oil tanker.
Yeah.
You were on the show back in 2020, episode 16. If listeners want to go back and with John, you go really deep into your story and your journey into ultra running. So if people are interested in hearing that, the beginning of this story, do jump back onto episode 16. But perhaps you could give people just a quick recap of how you find yourself where you are today.
Yeah, so bit of a crazy story. So I was an endurance cyclist and a time trialer. Nothing of riding 250 miles to have a cup of tea with my mum. Lots of time trials, and then in February the 9th, 2017, sitting right here, I had a massive stroke. So. Yeah, I talked through it a lot with John. The last time I was on, was really great to be able to speak to him. Basically, I had to learn to walk again. So my life completely changed from being this endurance athlete to being carried to the toilet, basically. So I thought, right, okay, what should I do? And I thought, I'll try and run as part of my rehab. And it kind of grew arms and legs, to be honest. And here I am running ultra marathons. So I feel hugely, hugely privileged and honoured to be able to do that, to be honest. But yeah, bit of a crazy journey.
Did you still keep your toe in with the cycling world, or is it 100% running now?
No, I do. And I was actually out with the club on Sunday. So I keep my toe in because it's my club. I founded the cycle club 10 years ago. We just had our 10-year anniversary. So I kind of dip in and out. So I did 60 mile on Sunday with them. So yeah, I still cycle a bit. I'm still okay on a bike. I can still kind of hold a wheel just. Yeah. But yeah, if I had to choose, I would pick up the training shoes, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, that was one of our questions.
One of our questions. Delete.
Damn.
It's always good. I you know, although you don't really with Zwift, you don't cycle somewhere to have a cup of tea and a cake, but the cycling, the social side of cycling is much more pleasant than running. Like you say, you wouldn't think nothing for cycling for hours to go and have a cup of tea with your mum.
Yeah. I love the social side of the cycling, and I love the fact that, you know, I do all the admin and we organise races and we have a championship, and I still do all that. I don't get out as much as I can, but again, I've got a life to live as well as exercise, but B, I've just got to be really conscious of my fatigue levels.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I love the bike, but I dip in and out with it, I would say, definitely.
And are you up to speed with the highway code update? There's a lot of have you seen this, Eddie? There's a highway code update for cyclists and car users and people crossing roads. It seems like a bit of a minefield at the moment.
We got randomly peeped by about 5 or 6 cars on Sunday morning. Then they were coming the other way, but just because we were on a bike, they peeped the horns, and we're like. So yeah, I think it's going to be quite difficult to administer that, and I think there's going to be a lot of feedback, but we'll see how it goes.
Accidents, I think, initially, until people get up to speed with it. Since the last time you were on the show, what has Andy Dobinson been up to?
My goodness. So 2021, that was a massive year for me, to be honest. I did 4 ultra marathons last year since being on the show last. And I've taken on a coach to try and just get me to that next level.
Hence the strides.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But I managed to tick off 2 55-milers last year.
Brilliant.
So one of them was, my friend was running the West Highland Way Challenge race. So I supported him through the night, which was just, what an adventure. Just, you can see me smiling now. That'll live with me forever. And I did the Hardmoors 55 as on top of some other stuff. So yeah, it was a really good year last year.
There's something really magical about running through the night. I don't know what it is, but especially if you're looking up to see the sun come up too, that is...
I joined him at the Glencoe Ski Centre. So he'd just come over the Devil's Staircase. He'd done about 25 mile. And I joined him about 5, 6 o'clock. And, you run along to... the night comes and you're sitting at the feed stations, and I remember we're at Ben Glass, and you have a bit of a giggle about, we can't put our head torches on full power, we're going to run out. And then as the sun came up, we said, should we treat ourselves? What do you mean? Should we go full power on the head torches? Go full power.
High risk.
Magical, absolutely magical. Brilliant.
And how did you find the 55?
It was an absolute roller coaster. So, my mate Gary, who I ran it with, he's got his 1,000-mile Hardmoors award. So he's an accomplished trail runner, and he doesn't do stuff lower than 50 mile because it's just a waste of the day. He says, "Man." So anyway,
that's the spirit.
Yeah, we set off together, but I would say for the first 4 hours, it's the hardest 4 hours I've ever had. And at the first feed station, it was tanking down the rain.
Yeah.
And we were both shivering. So Gary went, I need to go on. And at that point, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be by myself. But, thank goodness, I'm by myself. I can do what I want. So we went I was by myself going over the moors. And then at the second feed station, I started to feel a bit better. Couldn't get food down. Felt horrendous. And then this guy said, number whatever. He says, your mate's waiting at the feed station. So again, I thought, great, Gary's there. But then I thought, damn. So we got a set wind over the Three Sisters. Is it the Three Sisters?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely tanked it over the Three Sisters. And then Gary was going, oh, we can go sub 14, we can go sub 14. And then I think the last 10 miles, we ran every step. And I'm like, my
Brilliant.
God, what's going on here? And we came in at 14:07, which is not bad. Not bad at all.
Very good. Yeah, very good. It's,
I love that your annoying friend is called Gary too.
yeah. Is it? I think Gary's one of those names that was very popular for a few years, but nobody, I think on the birth records, nobody calls their children Gary anymore. It's an unused. But it's quite a fast finish, actually. I think the 50, well, it's on the trails, but once you've done the White Horse car park, it's relatively easy going, weather dependent, obviously, but very good.
Do you know what? It's a funny one because you don't know what you're capable of doing until you do it. So I don't think I would have ran as much if I hadn't had someone there pushing me, which is why I'm super grateful that Gary waited for me. He probably could have gone faster, but the fact that in that last 10 mile, it was, come on, we can do it.
Yeah.
And you get to the end and you think, what the hell's just happened?
Yeah.
You're 45 mile in, you're buckled and you think, no, I can run the last 10 miles. It was unbelievable. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Two amazing experiences. With those under your belt now, what have you got planned for this year?
So I've got the Kielder Ultra in April with a good friend of mine, Mark. Then I've got the summer edition of the Cheviot Goat. Now, so I've marshalled at the Cheviot Goat. So I've been on top of Cheviot, watching them come in and go up to the top and then go down over into the peat bogs, basically. Yeah. But because it happened, Drew and the guys have put on a summer edition, so I've signed up for that, which is going to be phenomenal. Then I've got the lap in September. I've done the lap I've done the lap clockwise, which was in 2020. So this is anti-clockwise.
Okay.
Then I've got the Wooler Trail Marathon, which I always do every year. Trail Outlaws Wooler Trail Marathon in November. I love that event. It's where I grew up. It's in the youth hostel across from the house where I grew up from. So it's a bit of a special event for me, that. And that was my first ultra back after my stroke. So I always do that one.
We must have toed the line, Andy. I've done the Wooler definitely once. So yeah, we must have toed the line at the Wooler Trail Marathon. Craigie, when did I do it? It might have been 2018 or 2019.
Right. Yeah.
Before everything went a bit nuts.
Yeah.
Very good. So the lap, is that what they do every year with the lap? It's like comrades, basically. They swap the direction every year.
So I think the original is anti-clockwise. I think, I could be wrong. So they do a May version. So May is clockwise and September's anti-clockwise. So I've signed up for the September one.
Awesome. Very good. And that's the goat, the goat looks like an awesome event, but the winter, it's not for me, Eddie. Don't fancy that. But the summer one, yeah, I could go for that.
Again, I kind of know my limits, and the Cheviot Goat in the winter, that's not for me. Nah.
Yeah, but you do the pointing in a big coat and a woolly hat.
And drink coffee.
Yeah, you got it right. You got it the right way. Yeah.
That's another question gone. Now we know he's a coffee drinker. Ticking off all the questions here on. If we could talk a bit about training and mindset, that would be great. I'm always curious how people approach their training. You just mentioned that you now have a coach. Yeah, how do you approach if you're training for an ultra?
I'm quite process driven. I always have been, more so since the stroke, because everything for me needs to be in a box. So I look upon my training sessions not as a task, because running is a pleasure. But if it ever becomes a task, you need to stop running. So I don't look upon running as a task, but I look upon my training as little wins. And again, that's more of a stroke mindset, that I've always embraced small wins and I've ticked off the little wins. So example tonight, that would be another one, chalked up. So I've kind of got a weird advantage, that my attitude is to training and events if I can deal with what's been put in front of me in the past, I can run 55 mile. I mean, all I'm doing is putting one in front of the other. But the advantage I've got is that I love the training that I do, because it makes, I love the process of running. I love the sound of my feet on the ground. It's quite weird. I never run with music, ever. Okay. I'm always outside listening and watching. But I love the process of ticking off this path where you can't quantify it, but tonight I'll be a better runner than I was yesterday. And then tomorrow I'll be slightly better than I was today. Yeah. That's how it works. And I quite enjoy not knowing where that's going to take me. And that's part of this fun trail running adventure. You don't know where you're going to go. I've got no idea what's going to happen tonight. You know, a tree might fall down in front of me and I'll have to come home. I don't know. But do you know what? Let's go and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. And is that a physical, like a box tick? Like, you know, you'll have a journal, or is it, I suppose, more mental, really?
Both. I'm quite analytical. So this here is my diary, and I've got 12 years of training diaries.
Wow.
I log down everything: miles per hour, elevation, time, speed, the lot. I mean, talk about being tapped. At least I've got an excuse. But yeah, I like to box things off, and I've got all my plans written down. But in my mind as well, I can't function with mess. I need things quite logical and A equals B. Although my brain doesn't work like that now. A equals F to go to G to Z back to B. Kind of learn with that. But as long as I know that I've closed off that session, that's it, done. Tick, move on next. That's kind of how it works for me.
And how's it been with having a coach now? How's that different to like old Andy's training?
I've got structure and I'm accountable. I like being accountable. But again, I've got to manage the anxiety, because if I miss a session, I really, really beat myself up. Where in reality, it's okay to miss a session because, you know, life is over. But I love not having to think. And again, I kind of mentioned this when I ran the hard movers. I didn't know I was capable of doing the stuff I'm doing. Yeah. Because I'm now running hills in my training that I just would have walked up. But no, in the plan, I kind of need to do that. I'm not saying I do it all the time, but I like having a green, an amber, or a red, and all the greens give me a sense of self-satisfaction. I
don't know if you're the same, Eddie. When I did the hard movers 110, I went from initially thinking, I can't do this. And then I just started thinking, well, I'm going to do it under 24 hours. And then it didn't really matter if I did it under 24 hours or not, but I stopped thinking about the fact, could I do it or not? It was all, once I'd got my head around that, I had a time in mind, the thought of doing it or not just never entered in my head. It was quite a strange but positive mental shift.
Yeah, it's a weird one, Gary, because I don't believe in the word failure, right? I think that if I start out on the Cheviot Goat in July and I don't complete it, that's fine, right? That's not a failure. And I think that's where some people beat themselves up really badly. If you stand on a start line, whether it be a training session or an event, and you give it a go, you're a winner in my eyes. This is why I've got an absolute passion for trail running. Trail running is an adventure. It's an absolute journey, no matter what happens. So, yeah, you've just got to kind of go with the flow, I think.
We all need to do that more in life. What would be, if you go heading out the door, Andy, it might be a recent addition to your program from your coach, or it might be something that you've always done. What's your sort of favourite, either type of session or specific session to do in your training block?
Specific, I like the steady, moderate runs I'm being given, where it's slightly shorter, but you're absolutely blown by the time you get back from it. And I love it when I'm just let loose in the hills. So previous to having a coach to give me some guidance, being let loose in hilly technical terrain. So when I say on the plan, 2.5 hours or 3 hours free session in the hills or whatever it's labelled as. I'm like, oh, here we go. So a great example was just the Saturday past, me and my friend Mark went to up by Loch Lomond, and we ended up doing Ben Ime and the Cobbler. So, you know, you've climbed 3,500 foot in the first 5 miles. Not really done, let's be honest.
No.
But my God, those sessions are absolutely awesome. Just love that. The more technical and hilly it is, I love it. Absolutely love it.
And if you throw in a bit of company and a flask of tea for me, well, I'm with you. I love a session that's got no session. There's no purpose to it. Just go out. They're my favorite. And lots of the clients I coach, and sometimes I forget that as well. That's why people do it, because I always feel like I should give people more, but actually people love free. It feels a bit like at school when you don't get set any homework. Good, do what you want.
But that's the reason we trail run. You know, all of these structured pieces of work that you do lead up to these days you get in the hills where you're standing on top of a Munro in Scotland, taking the picture, and you can see for 50 miles. And again, you see the smile it creates on my face. It's just awesome. Absolutely awesome.
It's such a privilege to be able to do that, to have a body that enables that you're able to do that with like relative ease, that you can go out in the hills and spend a day not thinking about the physical exertion you need to put down, but just enjoying the process. And that's where all the hard training also, kind of ticking all those green boxes, Andy, means that you can then just go out and the exercise becomes the second thing to actually just being so good.
And that's why I probably feel more privileged than most, because, you know, when you're lying in a hospital bed, not being able to walk, thinking, how's this happened at 42-year-old? I'm 47 now. I'm literally nearly at my 5-year anniversary, which is a huge mental hurdle for me. To be able to go out and stand on the start line, irrespective of the result, doesn't really matter. To be able to do this stuff, I feel so lucky and so privileged.
Has that always been your mindset? You said about irrespective of the result. When you were back in your cycling days, would you be much more competitive?
Exactly that, Gary, the polar opposite. I had a totally different agenda. It was all about, let's get quite deep, all about wattage, all about times.
Gary will love it. He's just learned what an FTP is.
all about the likes I would get by posting, look what I've done, trying to prove something to somebody. I don't quite know what it was. That's probably why I was in counselling for 2 years after my stroke. What were you trying to prove? Where now, I don't have to prove anything to anybody. I don't care. But yeah, to answer your question, Gary, before it was a completely different agenda. I put myself under so much pressure, which you know, I had results. I was first in a couple of 24-hour races. I'm looking at my Scottish Cycling Award for middle distance time trialing, best all-rounder in Scotland. But I much prefer this agenda.
Better memories, I think, like you were saying about, you know, you were saying about being privileged. You can go out, you've got the fitness to do this. I mix it up. I like running on the road and the trails, but definitely the training, days out on the fells with your friends. And like you say, I sat on the top of Causey Pike the other week, scoffing a lovely pasty. It was wonderful. And the clouds are rolling in. Luckily, we weren't in the clouds, but yeah, just magical times. And there was no worrying about heart rate or mileage. It was just time on feet with friends. It was wonderful. Yeah,
great. Absolutely love it.
Have you got any? We're all busy. My goodness, Eddie and I, before we do press the record button, we spend about half an hour about chatting about how busy we are.
Whining, I think is the verb.
Any tips for people with busy lives just trying to fit it all in?
Put things in perspective, because we all work to facilitate life outside of work. I used to live to work. I work to facilitate my life, but I've got a hugely busy job in software development. Like you're busy, you're busy. And if you don't manage to tick that box, it's actually okay, right? So this should always put a smile on your face. It should never put you under undue stress or pressure. if it does, I think people just need to take a step back and go, do you know what? This is just part of a bigger picture. It's an element of what I do. And if I don't manage to do it today, it's actually all right. Yes, you're accountable to a coach, or yes, you want to get that fastest time, or you want to get that medal, but just make sure that you've still got the smile on your face and it never becomes a task-driven thing that you're doing. Because if that does become a task-driven thing, I think you've kind of lost a bit of direction. So my tip would be, yes, prioritize, but just keep it in perspective. This is a passion. So treat it as a passion.
I'll make a list, but then I'll basically prioritize that list with what will make me happy. And try and do those first.
I make the list and I put training at the top. What do you do? You're really, Andy, you're a super positive person, and I need some of your mantras. In fact, I might just start calling you in the morning when I can't do it. I can't do it all today. What do you do? Because even people that are able, you've got a very strong sense of purpose now. What do you do if your motivation is low or you hit a bad patch in a race? Do you have a sort of self-talk mantra, or do you, how do you sort of get yourself out of that funk?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking here as if I'm this guru of positivity. I'm not, believe me. I've got this mental kind of battle with what a stroke leaves you, I think. In this whole you can, you can't, you will, you won't kind of chat. So I think in an event, and there's so many dark spells of you can't and your motivation's at rock bottom in an event. And, you know, I kind of ring my wife first and foremost, and all I need to do is go, can I do this? And she goes, yeah, you can. Okay, then, right, bye.
Get off the phone, I'm at the shop.
Yes. So that's kind of, if I hear her say you can, then irrespective of how I'm feeling, I think, right, okay, I'll just get on with it. I do get quite demotivated, and I'm really quite bad at comparing to others, and oh my God, I'm not good enough. And I kind of, if I'm in an event, I stop and I kind of ask myself, why am I doing it? Remind myself what it's given me. But what I also do is how I kind of live my life. I don't look at the end result. So a Hardmoor's 55. If I think about running 55 miles, I'll run back to the B&B and just sit and drink coffee all day. Yeah. But if I think about from the start to the first feed station, if I can do that, let's have a see where I am. Am I good to go? Right, I'll have a go to the next one. So even in a training session or an event and my motivation's low, I just bring it right back to a smaller chunk that I can kind of visualize and accept in my mind. Yeah. And that's how I live my life, to be honest. I've always said you need to celebrate the wins, and all of these little wins will get you to the end goal, but don't think about that end goal. For me, anyway, it's just too big. I can't comprehend that. I can't put that in a box. And if I can't put it in a box, I get rid of it. But I can put the small bits in a box, and that's how I do my training, my events, and that's what gets me out of these motivational and just dark places. Everybody can visit. Everybody visits them.
That's great advice. Celebrate the small wins. And I love that what you said about kind of checkpoint to checkpoint on a race, because if you looked at the 55 miles, the 100 miles or whatever it is, you know, my goodness me, these guys doing the spine race. If you looked at the big picture, you wouldn't toe the line off.
Even though sometimes just like a 40-minute recovery run to get out the door, you're like, oh, I can't. And so then you just put the trainers on. Let's just put the trainers on, put your kit on. And then I've got my kit on now because I'm like, I know at 3:00 when it's going to be a running slot, I'm going to go, oh, I can't. But if I've got the kit on, that's the first hurdle, isn't it?
Half the job done, yeah.
Half the job done, just go get the trainers on. Then all I've got to do is get the trainers out the door. And I don't think I've ever come back. I always say to myself, just go out and just see how you feel. And I think
my kit.
Never come back.
Do you ever sleep in your kit, Andy?
Sorry?
Do you ever sleep in your kit? Not dirty kit, clean kit for the next day.
I'm about in it far too long when I come in until I'm told that I stink and I need to get a shower.
Yeah, I get that a lot too. You're going to get changed. You're going to have a shower.
You did Are you really going to sit in that sweaty gear? Can you get a shower, please?
Yeah. I've got to glory in it first.
Yeah, I've got to own this smell.
Yeah.
Own this smell.
You're not running. You can't get on the bike. But have you got any interests outside? Running and cycling.
Yeah, and they all sound quite selfishly solo, to be honest. And you might think where my wife fits into all this. She'll kill me. I've got a motorbike, so I like riding the motorbike. I've got this silly fascination with cars, so I like motorsports. But I just love being out with Nick, my wife, just kind of doing stuff. I can't label what that stuff is. I mean, my passions are obviously what we've talked about, but I love motorbikes, cars. We're lucky to live in a beautiful part of the country, so we spend a lot of time outside together. She likes to go walking, so we're planning a little Munro Hill walk.
Brilliant. I love just muddling around with Lisa. We don't really run much together, but just I think it's just that you found in Finland they call it your split. You found your split, and just to muddle around with your split is magical. I love that. Yeah. What kind of bike? I'm not a bike. Don't know anything about motorbikes, but some of our listeners
Let's
do.
Pretend we are. Let's pretend we do.
Yeah. What bike have you got? Or bikes?
I have got a Ducati Multistrada, but I just again, I don't ride it enough because if it's a nice Saturday morning, I'll just pick up my trainers and go for a run. And you think, I'll go on the bike next week. Then next week comes, there's that hill we're talking about running. I'll just go and run that hill instead.
So talking about free time and not having a lot of it, but let's say this weekend you have got a free weekend. You've got a full tank of petrol, maybe in your car, your motorbike. Which part, if you could choose part of the country, you can go and have a long run or even a long walk with the wife? Where would you head to?
There's a question. In this time of year, I would go to the Highlands of Scotland because there's no midges.
Yeah, bit of snow, but that's all right.
Yeah. I've got this passion for the Lake District. But if I had to pick one, it would be the north of Scotland, I think, just because of the ruggedness and the beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still so not undiscovered, but undisturbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truly remote.
Absolutely.
You could literally, I talk about the moors are very busy, lakes, you can find yourself quite on your own for hours, but then, the north of Scotland, I think that's another level of alone time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite lucky. I'm going to Chamonix for a week in June and I've never been, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that's like. I've been trying to go for 2 years, but obviously because of COVID, it's getting put back. So I had to pick one place abroad. I've not ever been there, and I know it's Chamonix, so I can't wait to go. Can't wait.
You're going to love it.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. Some serious Strava maps there. It'll be awesome. Have you seen that new thing on Strava? They have this thing where you can integrate it with this bit of software called Summit Bag. So I've just noticed on people's Strava activities, they've ticked off all these mountains when they've been for runs. I think it was Sarah Perry and Luke Kennedy. So I was like, oh my goodness, what is that? So check out Summit Bagging or something like that, and it just tells you all your peaks.
Well, I can't wait. Can't wait.
That'd be awesome. Well, thanks to Andy. That's all my questions, Eddie. Apart from the quick five, do you want to do them, or do you want me to do them?
You do them. You're so good at them, and then I just interrupt.
Have we? I'm just checking which ones we've already.
No, we're good.
We're good to go.
We'll still ask the last one.
Okay. Right, Andy, you ready?
I'm ready.
Well, we just had a competition actually to get some new questions to refresh our questions. But what I've done is a tribute to season 1 of the podcast, which was one of the earliest questions. And I always used to really like this question when it used to pop up. But it is the strangest thing you've seen on a run.
Somebody having a poo on the path.
Oh!
On the path?
Yeah. No joke. Squatted down, having a poo as I ran past.
Was it a race or just a...
No, just a random training run. I've never been back.
God's sake, that is gross.
Sorry to be so gross, guys, but you did ask the question.
What about you, Eddie? What's your strangest thing?
Not that.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. Probably some sort of wild animal, dead animal round here.
I went for a run once. It was just a short out and back. So this is but on one direction, I went on these like boardwalks near a stream. Then on the way back, bear in mind this is an early Sunday morning, I saw one burning sock.
What?
Yeah, literally. Just a burning sock on its own, and it wasn't there maybe 15 minutes earlier. I can't understand.
There's always socks, isn't there? Socks, pants in random places. Let's not go any deeper into this.
Okay, right. Hollywood are on the phone. They're going to make a film about the Andy Dobinson story. Who would you like to play yourself? Which famous actor?
Does it have to be an actor?
As long as we've heard of him, I don't mind.
Killian, just so I looked really good when I was...
Hey.
I love it. Sign him up. I'm sure he's free. He'd be delighted. He'd be delighted.
Would you prefer a fasted run or a full English before you run?
Fasted.
Fasted. Longest you've ever been without sleep?
About 30 hours.
Oh, wow. I think I'd be kaput. 30 hours. That seems way too long. I think we know the answer to this one. Bike or trainers?
Trainers. Absolutely trainers.
This is actually a little spin on it. If you could only do one for the rest of your life, cycle or run, what do you think you'd opt for?
Run.
Okay.
Run.
Cool. That is it. Thanks, Andy. I really enjoyed that. Thanks for your time.
I'd just share with people where people could find you on Instagram. And if people perhaps want a little bit more background about recovering from a stroke or living after a stroke, coming back after stroke, what's your Instagram handle? Where can they find out?
So my Instagram handle where I document this trail running adventure is Andy D2574 _ stroke _ look. So it's an absolute mouthful, but it actually reads okay. Andy D2574 stroke of luck.
Oh, I didn't get it when you read it slowly.
That's what it was. I had the luckiest and best stroke I've ever known. So yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah, right. Well, go find it if you need a bit of positivity, or you can't get out for your training session. Send him an Instagram message, and he'll tell you can get on with it. I've got time for this. There's a business there, coaching business, where you just tell people that they can do it.
That could be the easiest job in the world. Can I have a plan for this week? Yes. Get outside now.
You can do it.
Oh, best of luck with everything this season, Andy. We look forward to hearing about the summer Cheviot Go. We might be, swing Gary and I to sign up for that one over the winter one, and keep in touch. And we hope and maybe see you again another 60 episodes.
Yeah, listen, thank you very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
No worries. Take care. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy, for coming on the show and updating us on how you're doing. If you want to follow on Instagram or point anybody who's perhaps had a stroke, perhaps even a runner recovering from a stroke or family member, he's Andy 2574 _ stroke of luck. And I'm sure if anybody would want to contact him, he would be happy to give out some advice as well into his journey back into fitness.
Upcoming races. What have you got, Eddie, for us this week?
We got, the Black Combe. It's a tough late winter race with some good long climbs and often quite interesting weather. The final descent is one of the best of the year, and there's always a pie and brew in the village hall afterwards. Sign me up. Race fee includes the pie and the peas and a cup of tea.
Awesome.
Maybe more than one cup of tea, because to me, one cup of tea is just the initiation of the moistness, and then you go for the second one. Silcroft railway station. It's very convenient to get to the race. Oh, wow, this is my sort of race.
I love that. That's the long distance walking stuff. Quite often a pie. Actually, years ago I did Baslow Boot Bash, and it was apologies for vegetarians out there, but it was a lamb pie, and they put like mint sauce on it. And I'd never had a pie with mint sauce on it. It's a nice little bit of regional delicacy. It was lovely, that was. But we're going north again this week for myself, and I'll be actually at this race. So it's cross country at Alnwick. It's the final fixture of the Harrier League. Dare I say it? I think if we turn up and get 6 people finished, I think we're promoted, Eddie. I'm always a bit cautious until I see the physical paper. See the stats at the end. I really hope my knee is okay, because I do want to run and I do want to count for the team too. Basically what's happening is I rest it Monday to Friday and then smash it up over the weekend. That's basically what's happening.
The majority of injured runners do. I'll have a bit of rest and then I'm going to go massive with the mates at the weekend.
Yeah. So yeah, good luck to everybody racing this weekend.
What happens if you get promoted? What's the next league like? You're going to need investment. You're going to need sponsors. You're all going to turn pro. What are you looking at?
Yeah, definitely lots of investment. We need some. Well, it's really funny because if we could consistently get 6 of our better, that's the wrong way to say it, but faster athletes out, then our aspirations really would be just to stay in the league. We are not a Division 1 team. We don't have enough fast pack runners. And then if our slow pack runners, Mark Rain, massive plonker, got himself promoted last time. He literally about three runners. I don't know what the cutoff was, but he was like literally, I think, the next runner. So now he's a medium pack runner. So he gets a handicap. If he scores, fantastic. Well done, Mark. But you should have thought of the team and eased off a little bit. So yeah, aspirations is survival really in Division 2. There's some big clubs. Sedgefield isn't a massive club. People tend to join Sedgefield, I suppose, if you live in Sedgefield or you're relatively local. There's some clubs, say maybe Morpeth or Polly, North Shields Polly. People join those clubs because they're a competitive club. Sedgefield isn't that club, unfortunately.
Oh, but it offers so much more.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, soon membership's going to rocket. Realise that they could run alongside the.
I keep banging the drum for Sedgefield. The membership should be through the roof. But yeah, best of luck, everybody, apart from the teams that are challenging Sedgefield for the promotion push.
Down with you.
What have you got coming up then, Eddie?
Big week. I was quite tired after half term. Coach said, let's have a big volume this week. I was like,
Yeah, you know what you need is loads of miles.
Loads of miles. I was like, okay, if you say so. Don't cry, Eddie, don't cry. Don't trip with this. So I'm having a big, but on the caveat that next week I have to deload. He did actually say to me eye to eye, thanks for not listening to my instruction about the deload week and carrying on. I am a terrible being trained. This is why I have to have a coach. So I'm doing a big week this week, big volume, and then I will have a deload next week. And so a big week for me is we're keeping up the running volume because my 100K is creeping up.
Yep.
So I am keeping up the running volume, but I'm also going to back that up with some time on the skis. As soon as we finish this, I'm out of here. Onto the skis. We started talking. He was a bit, I was like, so let's talk about spine. He's like, Eddie, let's just, let's go.
One thing at a time, Eddie.
He's a method. What's it like? It's like, let's just go one thing. Methodical, but the biggest thing for me is going to be leg strength. So the more that I can do, not just running, but skiing and biking and all the extra stuff, all these they all add up. That's my I've
got a bit of maybe we could do for sure once. I listened to a podcast about lifting weights and things like that, and I don't think my weightlifting protocol is really
it's very hard if you don't have a gym to access to lifting those really heavy weights. But definitely the last 2 months when I've been lifting heavy weights, my God, the difference in my running uphill. Yeah. I'm sure not only difference in my running uphill, the difference in my recovery as well. I just feel my legs feel less bashed. I just feel more in control going uphill and downhill. But it's an investment in time that lots of people don't have, and an investment in another expense of joining a gym. And I do think you have to do weights body weight and conditioning is great for core and for mobility and injury proofing yourself. But if you're looking at doing something mega where it is all going to come down to the cardiovascular fitness is only going to get you over a certain amount, and it's going to come down to strength. I think investing in a coach that knows what they're doing with the weights, in a program, and in a gym membership.
Well, you know what's funny is, years ago there was lots of the advice and protocol was bodyweight exercise. We're training for these long events, lots of this, and then now it seems to be lifting heavy.
Oh, it's always fads, isn't it?
Who's to say that lifting heavy is correct? I'm sure I saw Kipchoge doing some exercise and he wasn't lifting heavy, and he's the best in the world. It's like
you've got to play to your strengths, though, haven't you? And I think I'm not going to be Kipchoge. I'm not going to run a 2-hour marathon ever. But I am going to be knee deep in bog on the Chiviots, hopefully.
The last podcast I listened to that we talked about strength training, I almost kind of think, well, listen to that, I might as well not do any, because what I'm doing isn't really doing anything.
I think with anything with training, don't do what works for you. If it feels good and it makes you feel stronger and you enjoy doing it, put it in your program. If
I don't enjoy doing it.
No one enjoys core work, but you've got to do it. That's non-negotiable. But, embrace the bits of your program that you really like. Because I do believe a lot of training, if you enjoy it, it's like a run with mates, isn't it? Long run with mates, fuel for the soul, that. So yeah. I'm a big believer, do the bits you like. You have to put in the bits you don't like, just like you always have to eat your vegetables. Sometimes you have to do bits you don't like, but embrace the bits you do like. Anyway, we've done it. Next week, I'll be talking to you from a deload week. I'll be grumpy. I'll be like, oh God, that means I've got a Hoover.
Well, I'm tapering, I suppose. And it's really funny because I don't actually feel like I've got to a level in my running that I can taper from. So I'm in this.
You've not done any running. You've just around the fells a bit with Sarah Perry eating Chia Charge bars and whining about your knee.
So it's really funny because you've got a health hobble in 2 weeks, I think. So yeah, you definitely want to be increase the running, but I really don't feel like I've got anything to taper from. It's been that.
Are you on the bike?
Yeah, I did too. It's really good because I'm trying to save any kind of unnecessary stress on my knee. I did 2 workouts on the bike, and I'll be 2 or 3 workouts. I've done a Zwift plan, so I've 3 workouts a week to do this FTP builder or something like that. Anyway, so yes, I will be on the bike. Probably get on there later today. So yeah, it's a funny one. So although I'm tapering for a race that I'm not really invested in it from a race point of view, but I don't feel like I've got to a point that warrants a taper. So it's a real kind of funny mindset.
You don't need to get to that point, though. You don't need to sign off the contract to get to the taper. You're just following a little bit of a different path at the moment. You've got heaps of fitness. You always do really well in races. You bring your A game. You're the Rory of racing, you get your head down, you roll the dice, and you'll go.
I can't wait. It's another team event, so we may and Neil together.
You'll be taking them all down.
Epic food, apparently.
Massive spikes.
Oh God, yeah. But yeah, that's me. Tapering, but not tapering.
Whining, not whining
on. We've got another 5-star review.
Amazing if you keep asking what people will do in the end, isn't it?
Who'd have thought you ask for these things. But Don Carlo 79 on the 24th of the 2nd, 2022 left us a lovely review. Motivating. Love the podcast, great guests and motivating chat. It's great to listen to whilst running as you feel part of the conversation. Entertaining and fun with some really useful and interesting discussion / training ideas. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you so much, Don Carlos 79. I always love it, and I really appreciate anybody who takes time to listen to the podcast, but then actually backs it up with a 5-star review. Very generous of you to do that. Thanks so much.
We know you're waiting for the Chia Charge seed result. Can I just point this out? I was in charge of the Facebook post and monitoring that. Gary was in charge of counting the Chia Charge seeds.
Well, I'm still waiting too. I did bump into the team and Lisa on Saturday. It's a bit of a blur, and we are still counting the seeds, people. Sorry to disappoint you. I don't have the equipment to, as in a bag of chia seeds, to count them. So I'm waiting for Tim or Lisa to give us the the figures. So we'll keep the competition running.
Shall we? Okay, I'll pop that on Facebook. We're going to keep it running another week. So if I know a few people have actually tried to count, and people have been a bit, people are going into the thousands. I'm not sure. It's a very small bar, people.
You never know. You see those jars of sweets, and I'm always staggered how many are actually in the jar. So
would you always go bigger than what you think?
Let's go big, Eddie. Yeah.
Okay. We'll wait one more week. If they hasn't sent it by then, I'll crush a bar and I'll get the kids.
So everybody tag Tim in and pester him to count up.
I'm not sure, like my littlest can count over 20 yet, so it could be quite a long weekend, but we'll see if we can fit it in. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe to the show. Thank you for Chia Charge for sponsoring. That was episode 79. I'm Eddie Sutton.
And I'm Gary Thwaites.
And let's run to the hills.